All right, we are here with Sifu Bagui, and I am Lynn Marie, and we are going to be discussing the Taoist philosophy. I grabbed some tea. Any of you guys want to grab some tea while we sit and chat? I'm having milk thistle tea. This one is on my website. It really helps support your liver and it works great, honestly. And so I'm having that right now. So if you guys want to go grab some tea or sit down, and we're going to chat with Sifu. And now a little background, he's my first introduction to Qigong. So I remember talking to him almost like 10 years ago now. It was in 2017, Sifu, that we met. And he mentioned, I don't even know how I met him, honestly, how we even came to be. I think I was scrolling on Facebook and I found him somehow. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but I think my husband had something to do with it. Anyway, and I'm a widow, so that was kind of ethereal, but my husband was introduced to Qigong when he hurt his back. He went to a pain clinic and he met a guy that had this Chinese guy that was there and that he taught him some Qigong. And then he really got into it. And I think it is the major factor that healed his back because he never had any back issues after that. And he had major back surgery, couldn't walk for a while. But so anyway, long story short, I meet Sifu Bagui and I'm like, and he says, "Oh, do you know what Qigong is?" And I remember sitting there, I'm like, "No, I don't think so." And he started explaining what it was, and I'm like, "Okay, not really sure, but it sounds really cool. Tell me more." So he told me more, and then I started thinking, this sounds like what my husband. I never told him this actually, but I said, I think this was what my husband did. This breathing and movement stuff, and then it's kind of maybe spiritual. I wasn't sure, but I wanted to know more. And so I then joined his school and I learned a lot over a course of quite a few years. I got a red belt from him and certified, I feel, in some way to teach a bit. And um, I've also been teaching under Damo Mitchell at Zhangtian College of Traditional Chinese Medicine and his Internal Arts Academy. I've been learning Tai Chi, Neigong, Bakwa, and now I just started Xinyi, which is really weird and difficult. And yes, anyway, but I'm really immersed in it. And Sifu Bagui is the one that got me into this. And I'm like, I dived right in. But today we are going to talk a little bit. I'm going to have him give you his background. He has the coolest background. He's been all over the place, and he actually just told me he was in India. I didn't know that. I knew he was in China for a long time studying, but he actually went to India too. So the both worlds here together. So I'm going to spotlight Sifu Bagui right now. So he can introduce himself and give you a nice little introduction. Um, oh, there we go. So take it away, Sifu Bagui.
Thank you. Right, so my name, well, we all have real names or other names. So my real name is Paul Brighton, but through the last 40 years at least, my teacher's name is Sifu. Sifu means guide, means somebody who points you along the way, who guides you on your path. Boggy or boggy, as it's supposed to be said, means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. And in the Daoist arts, a lot happens in China. A lot of systems is they give you a name. Your name is given to you. And my first actual name is Taisol, and Taisol means supreme low chaos or big trouble. And I was given that name because of the fact that my Sifus recognised I was an instigator, not necessarily on purpose, but I would because I what I later until I later knew, but because I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic, I sort of do things in a in a different way, or I think outside the box, and I tend tend to ask questions I'm not supposed to ask, especially coming from a very Catholic background, and went to Sunday school, and I almost got myself kicked out because I would ask questions that you weren't supposed to ask. It's like, well, why this then, and why that, and well, uh, well, why do you anyway? I asked lots of questions that I was supposed to ask. So my Sifu's gave me the name Taiso, Taiso, and then Bagui is the balancer between the chaos and the calmness. And that was more about the whole idea that they recognized that I could learn all these different things. And the whole idea as a Sifu is that a Sifu learns 100, 200, 500 different exercises, Qigong techniques, 500 different philosophies. So you only have to learn three. So that was and the Bargi is very much almost like the Tai Chi symbol, or yin and yang, as a lot of people say, but it's actually yin and yang in it. Blends together, becomes Tai Chi. But I started this when I was, I was 11 years old, and bullied at school because of the dyslexia dyspraxia a lot. And I was just different. And so my father wanted me to learn some self-defense, and we found an obscure martial art called Katina, and I started doing that. And from that, because I didn't really enjoy the fighting side, but I enjoyed in Katina, they had meditation, and the meditation is the side I enjoyed. But they also did belt testing, and from the belt testing, I met Shun, or his name was Malay Shun, but in Chinese they tend to the head of the family takes on the surname. So he was known as Shun. Shun was his surname, but it was also it was his name because he was the head of the family. And he would he would travel all around the world because the Shun family, which was also sort of like an organization, looked after diplomats, and also did diplomats and security for different countries, different embassies all over the world. And when he was in the UK, he would be a adjudicator. He'd be adjudicator for different martial arts because he's sort of always looking. He's always looking for students. And he basically, I was going for a belt, and he did the adjudication, and then he spoke to me, but then he spoke to my dad and asked if he could teach me, and it started there. So it started just about 2 months before my 12th birthday, really. So, but it started when I was 11, and we started in. He would always say, I would find this corny, but he would always say, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. And Qigong, Tai Chi, Bagui, Xing Yi, they are all what's known as the three M's. So they have a fighting side, they have a healing side, and they have a spiritual side. Now, in the West, we sort of don't know that so much, or don't know it at all. But in the East, everything's especially in China, the three ends happens a lot. You actually have all the three. So you also have in China, you have Buddhism, Daoism, and Confucianism, which were the three main philosophies that existed. And they were all intertwined. So there's always this masculine, feminine, and sacred child philosophy, energy, are always intertwined. So I started off there, and by the time I was 17, I was doing I was sort of starting to do 15, 16 I was teaching already, and 17 I started doing close protection. Definitely by 18 I was officially doing close protection, but I was doing it in a way that in a year, round about 3 to 4 months of a year, I would be off going somewhere. So I'd go off for a month and then come back, and go off for a month and come back. And so the whole idea, or like me being in China, I went to China, Japan, Korea, a little bit, or South Korea, Thailand, Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, then also going into Russia, going to quite a fair bit in Russia, and also on that side, so Russia, where was it? There's a few different locations. But sometimes it was close protection, sometimes it was actually being taught, and sometimes it was teaching, because Shunpo also taught military, different military organizations, and what they would teach was like a move, a particular move. So my
Mm.
speciality was Qina. So Qina means grappling techniques to holds, but the fighting side is grappling and holds. The healing side is massage, and then the meditational side is activating spiritual awakening. So it's all intertwined. So you do it one
Just a
way,
layer, just
comes
layers
one.
of it, right?
And,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing, the biggest understanding is like it's like you you know, like you said, the very important thing that your husband done it for his back, and it helps his back. Qigong is massage, is actually internal massage. It's you massaging yourself. We see it as an exercise, but it's actually the manipulation and moving is actually massaging your internal organs in your body. And the biggest thing of Qigong is breath work. But there's a little, or what I like to always sort of try to remind people, like people say, which is better, Tai Chi or Qigong? Well, Qigong is music. Tai Chi, Bagui, Xing Yi, Zhang, these are styles of music. So let's say that Tai Chi is classical music. So you saying which is better, Tai Chi or Qigong, it's like saying which is better, classical music or music. Well, one is the other. So it's a bit of an oxymoron. They're actually all intertwined. And the thing with Qigong, I can teach you Qigong in 5 minutes. I can teach you Qigongs in 5 minutes. Tai Chi takes a lot longer. Bakua takes a lot longer. Xingyi takes a lot longer. Xianzhong, they are more they're more integrated. There's more things inside. But Qigong an umbrella term, there's lots of different Qigongs, lots of different styles. And a Qigong can have different styles, just like a song. You could have one song and have a country version, then you could have a house version, you could have a rock and roll version, and you could have a hip hop version, all of that same song. You can do the same with a Qigong. So you'll have one exercise, like the first exercise I teach most people is twist the waist, which is standing still, turning the waist from side to side. Now, the Tai Chi version of twist the waist, they actually shift the weight from one side to the other. The Shaolin version, your legs are further out and you squat down, and so it forces your hips to be straight ahead. There's a moving version as well, and so on and so forth. So there's always different variations. My Sifu would always say, I show you one technique, I want you to show me three. I show you three techniques, I want you to show me eight. So there's always different ways to do even one thing. There's always something more you can learn. There's always another way you can do it. There's always another way it can be used.
And I love that lead in, Sifu, because we're right now, we live in a world where everyone's that internal thermostat that we have is set way too high. Everyone's in way too much stress, right? And we're seeing massive rise in people's nervous system issues, huge cortisol spikes. And Qigong actually helps your hormones. So what I'd like to ask you, in your Shundao system, you teach this song, and we talked a lot about it. He lives on this wonderful farm. He'd go out and he gives me little video clips, and I get to see this beautiful UK farmland that I want to go see so bad. But anyway, what I'd like you to do, he was telling me several different ways over the weekend of how to reach song. And so we're talking about a song. So it's a great introduction to what song really is. And song really is just a deep, active relaxation. And it's helped someone who is maybe stuck in fight or flight mode and feels like they can't turn off that. But Qigong can actually reset our nervous system. So I want you to tell us, if you can, Sifu, what maybe dive deep and explain this connection with that vagus nerve in our lower dantian that Qigong provides.
Okay, so right, so song, or if you say it more, the Chinese way of saying it, or the original way of saying it, sung, sung, the little like gong sound in it, because Chinese is tonal. So this is why there's you can have one word meaning so many things because it's the way you say it. So song, sung, sung is about sinking, it's about relaxing, it's about letting go. But it goes into rooting, grounding, and centering to in a way. But the biggest thing is where you're thinking and where you're breathing. So what do I mean by that? So the one of the Daoist poems is the way you breathe affects the way you think and feel. So if you breathe fast and erratic and shallow, meaning like the breath's up here, your thoughts are fast and erratic and shallow. Your actions are fast, erratic, and shallow. But if you're breathing deeply and slowly and quietly and effortlessly, your thoughts, your actions will be the same. So the way you breathe affects the way you are and the way you think and the way you feel, which ironically is that Qigong means breath work, working with breath. When we work with the breath, we work with the mind, the body, the spirit. So the way, and this goes into, ironically, because I also, not just the Eastern stuff, but I've studied epigenetics and quantum physics and NLP, which are all very, ironically, all very Taoist, or when you study them, you say, hold up, that's in this, that's in this system that's thousands of years old. How this is modern, like or quantum physics or epigenetics, but they're actually all interconnected. So the way you think and feel affects your physical health. We know this through epigenetics. So if your breath is more in the belly, and when we say like breathe from the belly, so how can you breathe from the belly? So when you look at a baby, when the baby comes straight out of the womb, it's connected by the umbilical cord, everything's drawing in. So the belly expands and it contracts. So when you first see a newborn newborn belly or newborn baby, they're doing exactly the thing. The belly is expanding and contracting, but so is the whole body. So when we breathe for the belly, and you'll see a lot of me, like the belly will expand out and then it will go back in. And in the Shaolin, even the Shaolin monks who look, very slim looking, a lot of them, they'll do what they call abdominal breathing, belly breathing. So breathing in, so pulling that belly out, draws the lungs fully out or fully down and expanding the lungs. And then you pull the belly in, squeezing the oxygen back out. But also this pulling out and pulling in, pulling out and pulling in, or letting out and pulling in, you're actually massaging your own internal organs. So this is where Qigong is a self-massage. You're literally massaging your own organs, but just by breathing. So breathing in, let the belly expand, breathing out, pulling the belly in. And so when you pull the belly in, it's a little bit of tension, just a little bit of the masculine, the yang. But when you're breathing in, you let the belly out and expand like you're giving birth. You're bringing in a baby. So like this is where some people say, oh, Tai Chi practitioners all got big bellies. It's like, yeah, because they're expanding their oxygen. They're expanding their ocean of chi. Their belly, the ocean of chi is indicated in the belly. So you're filling up the belly of chi. You're filling up that big belly. There is old my little friend, the mighty Buddha, and
There you go.
and the belly. So the belly is full of chi. It's all about the vitality. So that breathing in, let the belly expand, breathing out, pull that belly in. Now, so you get that like down, and then you expand this more and more, this concept, because it's not just about expanding the belly, but the whole body sort of expands, and then you relax. The whole body expands and you relax. So you watch a cat or a dog, they can sit there staring into space. They're meditating. They're actually doing Qigong or Shengong. Shengong, they're meditating. So spiritual work. They're expanding their body and contracting, expanding their body and contracting. Now, that's the breath sort of started to get settled. And if, when you're stressed, when you're thinking 10,000 thoughts, start with that belly. Put the hands on the belly, breathe in, let the belly expand, breathe out, pull the belly in. And just notice, be aware, because the part of this song is you're sinking, but you're sinking the breath. Then once you sink the breath, you also have to sink your yi, your intention. So we medically know we have three minds. We've got this one up here, the big old noggin. We've actually got one in the heart, and we've got one in the belly. There's actually brain cells. We found brain cells in the heart, and we found brain cells in the belly, in the gut, especially solar plexus. So the big noggin, where especially in the West, don't feel for the heart, think in the brain, the logic. Well, the interesting thing up here, especially the forebrain, the forebrain actually contains 60 to 90,000 thoughts every single day. So think about that. But that's the point, or that's the problem. 60 to 90,000 thoughts. You've got all these things whirring around in the front of the brain. So this is where in Daoism they talk about the leaning back, leaning out the forebrain, which they actually call the monkey mind. Monkey mind, or the ego, or even, you see in the cartoons, the devil and the angel, that's your devil, the monkey mind. So when you're trapped in this, you're worrying about those 60 to 90,000 thoughts every single day. You're trapped in there, which then affects your breath, which then raises it up, and then raises all your tension and everything else. So breathe in the belly and try, but don't try, do. Get it out of here and draw it down to the heart or down to the lower dantian. So when we sort about be aware of the breath, so we're breathing from the belly and then breathing in and feel ourselves expanding, and then breathing out and feel ourselves going in, and feel rather than think. Because monkey mind, 60, 90,000 thoughts, it will have you thinking all the time and trying to logic things or trying to see things in a certain way. And also up here, you have all the voices of all the people that ever told you off. So your dad, your mum, your uncles, your aunts, your dog, all those thoughts, all those voices are in there. So when you bring your intention, your ye up here, you're getting all those nagging thoughts, all those things getting, oh, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Or how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? That's all up here. A good way to get you out of here, I will say, is look up. Literally, breathing from the belly, looking up, it drains your intention, your thought, and allows, because when we're overthinking, tension normally builds up in our necks and shoulders, and then everything goes up, blood pumps up, but the pressure around your neck is literally strangling you and you can't drain your head. So if you get migraines and headaches are literally the brain swelling because the blood is pumping up, because where intention goes, energy and blood and oxygen flows. So if you're too much in your head, everything swells upwards, you start swelling the brain, that's where you get headaches, migraines. That all comes from here. So looking up starts to drain that all down. So literally by looking towards the heavens, looking up, breathing, belly breathing, you can drain that down. And then instead of think, we feel. Our angel, so the devil is up here, the angel is here in your heart. The heart is actually known to have brain cells. There's brain cells actually found and detected in the heart. So they store emotions. Your feelings are stored in memory in your heart. The heart is also, in the last 15 years, we've actually also discovered it's actually one whole piece. It's one whole, or the organ is one whole piece spiraling around. And originally we thought the blood pumps in one way and pumps out the other, but it actually creates a bioelectric magnetic field, torsion field, toric field. And that field literally affects, so we know this through epigenetics, it literally affects the body. When you're happy, this field expands. When you're in fear, this field contracts. When this field contracts, the cells start breaking down, everything starts shutting down. When this field expands, everything starts regenerating, everything starts improving. So the reason why the happy Buddha was a happy Buddha, because Buddha knew that happiness brings health and well-being. Fear, anxiety, stress. Go for it, Lynn.
No, you are so right, Sifu. And honestly, I was going to mention that to you, but you just brought it right in about the digestive issues and how our organs can be massaged by our qigong practice and by our intent of it. And honestly, the actual physical massaging of our organs comes from that. And then it's this, and you told me look up. I did. I felt this because I kind of teach that too, where you had taught me to take your tongue and move it to the back of your mouth and look up. But then another little step I teach my students, we put our hands in front of our face and then we delete the programming. And so we're looking back and forth, and as our eyes are closed, our eyes are looking back and forth. We're kind of trying to delete these programs, but it's definitely tied to our leaky gut. So many of us have a leaky gut, and our gut brain barrier, or our gut brain connection that we have, and that it can be a barrier. And Qigong stops that disconnection and connects it, because that's my big problem. Is I've had a gut problem my entire life, and I'm finally healing it. It doesn't go quick, but this works, I have to say. Um, and so I know we're kind of going over on our time, but next week we're really going to talk about this connection of our gut brain, because Master Shun lived to be 106 people, and he wasn't dealing with some of the things that we currently deal with, like our modern pesticides and but he was a master of strategy. And so I want Sifu to talk about that next week. And we're going to talk more about our health battles that we have and how Qigong can strengthen this. And Sifu mentioned this, our Wei Qi, that's our protective energy. And maybe he wants to maybe just go out with some like cute little one-liner about that and get us tempted for next week. What do you think, Sifu?
Sure. So, yes, yeah, so the Wei Qi, Wu Qi, the Wei Qi is, we actually, in medical, we've detected it. We know what the Wei Qi is. It's the fascia. The fascia is the Wei Qi. So in the fascia, there's a thin layer in between our skin and our muscles, thin sheath. Now, we didn't, in the medical side, originally they just thought it's just like that thin little white layer you see on a chicken leg, or chicken thigh. And originally they just thought, oh, it's just a layer of tissue. It wasn't until they could actually do live operations that they actually found that light passing through that. It's like fiber optics, and so physical light passes through. So human, light man, light being. You are a being of light already. You didn't even know it. So, and when you study the art of reading auras and seeing energy, the first thing you tend to see is that field of light, and that is affected not by the way you physically move as such, but it's the way you think and feel affects that fascia. So, when you feel stiff, An achy, that's going to create dis-ease, illness. Start to move, start to fidget. Remember all those years you're told off for fidgeting? Start fidgeting. Fidgeting actually improves your internal system. It helps relieve the stress of the nervous system, and it also starts to activate the Wu Wei field, the Wu Wei, the fascia, the light. There you go.
I love it. I love it. And it's so true, how that little bit of knowledge can spark our intention so that we pay more attention to those little tiny things in our body that Qigong can help improve. So thanks, Sifu. And next week, we are going to be discussing a little bit more about Sean. He didn't even go into how cool this dude is, and he learned so much from Sean and Po. And honestly, I kind of want him to too. He went in a little bit about his youth, but my grandson has ADHD, and he's very high functioning. But he now does Taekwondo, and it's helping him. So I'm so happy that my daughter's um, putting this on him. So I want maybe Sifu next week, because I'm going to try to get some people on here with some kids like that, because I think, Sifu, with your Qigong knowledge and what you know, there's so many kids out there that have ADHD that could benefit from this, right? And it helped. I don't know. I know Sifu had dyslexia, um, and I
ADHD as
know,
well. It's been later diagnosed, but yes. So I was originally dyslexic, dyspraxic, and slightly autistic, but the autistic is also ADHD, which
and look
which
what Qigong did to
when
you.
which well when you so the difference is in the millionaire and billionaire companies, these diagnoses are actually advantages. They use people with ADHD because they can think 20 things at once. They use people who are dyslexic because they think outside the box. They use people who are autistic because you zero in, focus on just one thing, and everything else. And they want people, So I knew people back in the 90s with these conditions literally getting paid thousands of pounds a week because they can do certain things that millionaire billionaire companies will do. That millionaire billionaire companies were using qigong because for since in the UK since like the 80s, but America, there were millionaire billionaire companies using it in the 60s, 50s and 60s, because once World War II ended, Shin and Po were recruited by a three-letter alphabet agency, but while they were used by them, they also then went into business, and because in businesses in China, Tai Chi and Qigong has been used for centuries. But there's also another side, because obviously millionaire companies use ESP and psychic abilities and all this as well, which is not talked about. But anyway, that's for another
Yeah,
time.
we're going to talk about that all next week, so we don't want to give any too much away here. But I think my lead in is that I think that what Qigong has done um, is helped him to refine all this lovely energy into, I mean, he's going to tell you about he worked for the MI5, so he worked for some of the government in the UK. So he's going to tell you next week some of the cool parts that he learned. And this Sean was a dignitary, and he followed him around the world. So stay tuned, guys. Sifu Bagui is going to tell us a lot more. All right. Well, bye for now, guys. We'll be back. Thank you, Sifu Bagui.